Laughter filled the air. Music pulsed, creating an atmosphere of pure joy and celebration. Mike Lowry, his face aglow with happiness, held his bride Christine close. They were the picture of love and contentment. Their first dance as husband and wife was a moment to cherish, a memory to hold on to forever. The reception buzzed with celebration, a testament to the love and support surrounding the couple. Friends, family, fellow officers, all gathered to share their joy, to witness this beautiful union. Marcus Burnett, Mike's partner, his brother-in-arms, beamed from the sidelines, his heart swelling with pride. He raised his glass to Mike and Christine, a toast to their future filled with love and happiness. May your love conquer all. The words echoed, a blessing for the newlyweds. The night shimmered with promise, the air thick with hope and dreams of a bright future. Mike, finally embracing a future filled with love and light, felt a sense of peace he had never known before. Marcus, his heart full, proud to stand beside his brother, knowing they had both come so far. Years of danger, of facing down the darkest corners of the city, seemed to fade away in the warmth of the moment. Life was good, and the future seemed bright. The bond between the detectives, unbreakable, forged in fire and tested by time, was stronger than ever. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. The sky seemed to darken, a foreboding sign. As the music swelled, Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. A dizzy spell washed over him, unexpected and alarming. He stumbled, his vision blurring, the world around him spinning out of control. The laughter, the music receded, replaced by a ringing silence. Concern etched on every face. He crumpled to the floor, his eyes fluttering closed. Panic erupted. Christine screamed, her joy turning to horror. Mike rushed to his partner's side, his own joy turning to ash in his mouth. "Marcus, stay with me," he pleaded, his voice breaking. The ambulance arrived in a flurry of sirens and flashing lights, the urgency of the moment palpable. Mike, his face etched with worry, rode with Marcus, his hand gripping his partner's, praying for a miracle. Darkness enveloped Marcus, a void, cold and silent. Then a voice, familiar, gruff, laced with authority. Marcus. He turned, his heart pounding. Standing before him, a figure emerged from the shadows. Captain Conrad Howard, their mentor, their guide, gone too soon. His face, etched with concern, held a glimmer of something else. Urgency. "Captain," Marcus whispered, his voice hoarse. "What's happening?" "Your purpose," Howard stated, his voice echoing in the vast emptiness. "It's not yet fulfilled." Marcus frowned, confusion clouding his thoughts. "What do you mean? I'm supposed to be with Mike. He needs me." Howard shook his head, his expression grave. "There are things you don't know, Marcus. Truths buried deep. You need to find them. Clear my name." "Clear your name?" Marcus echoed, his brow furrowing. "But you were a good cop. The best. Even the best," Howard said, his voice laced with sadness. "Can be framed, Marcus. Remember that." His image began to flicker, the edges blurring. "Find the truth, Marcus. For me, for all of us." Then darkness again. Silence. The voice faded, leaving Marcus alone in the suffocating void. He wanted to reach out, to grab hold of his captain, to understand. But the darkness held him tight, and the only sound was the frantic, echoing beat of his own heart. The news report crackled in the sterile hospital room. Mike, his face pale with shock, stared at the television screen. The words, stark and accusing, seemed to hang in the air. Captain Conrad Howard, celebrated police captain, under investigation for corruption and racketeering. "No," Mike breathed, his voice barely a whisper. "It can't be." He turned to look at Marcus, still lying comatose in the bed. "They're slandering him, Marcus. Our captain. The man who taught us everything." His voice cracked with emotion. He wouldn't. Days turned into weeks. Marcus remained trapped in his coma, haunted by his encounter with Captain Howard. Mike, consumed by grief for his partner, and disbelief over the accusations against their captain threw himself into investigating the allegations. He knew, in his gut, that something was wrong. Captain Howard, a man of unwavering integrity, wouldn't be involved in something like this. He pored over old case files, interviewed former colleagues, chased down every lead, every whisper. The more he dug, the more convinced he became that something was amiss. The evidence against Howard felt fabricated, planted. Someone was setting him up, even from beyond the grave. But who and why? The answer, when it finally arrived, came from the most unexpected source. A ghost from Mike's past, a shadow he thought he'd left behind, his estranged son, Armando Aretas. The meeting took place under a veil of secrecy, in a dimly lit diner on the edge of the city, the kind of place where secrets are whispered and shadows seem to have a life of their own. Mike sat across from Armando, a young man he barely recognized. The years had changed them both, but the tension between them was unmistakable. Years of resentment and unspoken pain hung heavy in the air between them. It was as if the diner itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. "You want to talk about Howard?" Armando asked, his voice laced with cynicism. His eyes bore into Mike's, searching for answers. "What's it to you? He was just another cop." Mike's response was sharp, almost offensive, as if he was protecting a sacred memory. "He was a good man," Mike countered, his voice low, laced with warning. "A man who didn't deserve what happened to him. And someone's trying to drag his name through the mud. I need to know why." Mike's determination was palpable, his eyes burning with a need for justice. Armando hesitated, his eyes darting around the diner, as if expecting trouble to walk in at any moment. The weight of the conversation was getting to him. "I heard things," he finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "Things that could change everything. Things about Howard. About a drug cartel he was investigating." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. They called it the Syndicate, a name that sent chills down Mike's spine. Mike leaned forward, his interest piqued. This was bigger than he had imagined. "The Syndicate? What else did you hear?" Mike's voice was urgent, desperate for more information. "They said Howard was getting too close," Armando continued, his gaze fixed on his coffee cup. "Too close to something dangerous, that he had evidence against them. Evidence that could bring them down. Evidence that could bring them down. The kind of evidence that people would kill to keep hidden." He finally met Mike's gaze, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. And then, he was gone. Just like that, Howard disappeared. The weight of Armando's words settled over Mike like a shroud. The truth was more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined. He had stumbled upon something dangerous, a conspiracy that stretched far beyond a simple smear campaign. This was a web of deceit and power. Captain Howard hadn't been corrupt. He had been silenced. Silenced for getting too close to the truth. And the key to clearing his name, to uncovering the truth, might lie with the young man sitting across from him. Mike knew he had to dig deeper, no matter the cost. Working with Armando was like navigating a minefield. Every step was fraught with danger, every decision a potential disaster waiting to happen. The young man was volatile, unpredictable, haunted by his own demons. His past was a labyrinth of secrets and shadows, each more troubling than the last. But he possessed information, crucial pieces of a puzzle that Mike desperately needed to solve. Without Armando, the trail would go cold, and the answers would remain buried. Armando led him to a hidden world, a digital underworld of hackers, informants, and whispers of the Syndicate. It was a place where trust was a rare commodity, and betrayal lurked around every corner. They tracked down a lead to a notorious hacker known only as Phantom, rumored to have connections to both the criminal underworld and corrupt officials. Phantom was a ghost in the machine, elusive and dangerous. Phantom operated out of a clandestine club, a haven for tech-savvy outlaws hidden in plain sight. The club was a fortress of secrets, guarded by layers of encryption and loyal followers. The club pulsed with energy, a cacophony of music, flashing lights, and the incessant tapping of keyboards. It was a digital symphony, a chaotic blend of sound and light. Mike and Armando, disguised as high rollers, moved through the crowd, their eyes scanning the room for any sign of their target. They had to blend in, to become invisible in the sea of faces. They found him in a darkened corner, hunched over a bank of monitors, his fingers dancing across the keyboard with lightning speed. Phantom was in his element, a maestro of the digital realm. As they approached, Phantom suddenly spun around, his eyes widening in alarm. He had sensed their presence, his instincts honed by years of evading capture. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed, his voice barely audible above the din. His words were a warning, a plea, and a threat all at once. Before either Mike or Armando could react, the club plunged into chaos. The air was thick with tension, the atmosphere electric with fear. Gunfire erupted, shouts and screams piercing the air. The once vibrant club was now a battlefield, a place of terror and confusion. The thump of bodies hitting the floor, the acrid smell of gunpowder filling the air. It was a scene of carnage, a nightmare come to life. They had walked into an ambush. The realization hit them like a punch to the gut, the cold truth of their situation sinking in. Mike, his instincts taking over, pushed Armando down, shielding him with his body as bullets flew past them. He had to protect him, no matter the cost. He drew his own weapon, returning fire, trying to create an opening, a chance to escape. Every shot was a gamble, every move a risk. The club, once a hive of illicit activity, had transformed into a war zone. The battle raged on, a brutal clash of wills and weapons.